I personally am not real happy with this, and I think that we all need to be aware of it. And honestly, as parents, if we can't unite and build a coalition around our children, I'm not sure that there is anything that would bring that about then. But honestly, this that we're about to discuss here today impacts us all. If you are a parent of children, really of any age, because there has been some changes recently that will impact all of them and all of us as their parents. And those changes are in relationship to the draft. And since we are obviously in a time of war, I wanted to make this video to bring awareness to this, just in case there are parents out there that had no idea. Because unfortunately, that's how these things work. They get passed when nobody's paying attention and other things are going on, and we're distracted by this and that and everything else. Things like this, these type of bills and legislation and acts and whatever are going through and being approved in the government. And this one hits a little close to home for a lot of us. And for that reason, I felt it was very important and something that we should be talking about for sure. Now, my children are a little younger than that right now, but I am still very concerned by what this is proposing. Because basically, once you hit of age, you are going to be automatically registered into the military or however they word it legally. But essentially, you are being registered. Unwilling, willing, doesn't matter. You are being automatically registered. And so it is mandatory that everybody registers now under this new act. And what that act is the NDAA, I believe is what it was called. And that's the new draft act. And within that act, there is the ASS, which is the automatic selective service. And so what that's doing is automatically registering these kids into this database so that if required, they're already set up to, potentially go to war. And being that we are currently in a war, I find that a bit disturbing. And honestly, we all should. Because up until this point, with the exception of back in the last draft when they stopped this whole thing, it has been a voluntary process, where people who wanted to do these type of things went into those careers and into that way of life. But for those who didn't, they weren't forced into it. They didn't have to do it. It was a choice. But now that choice has been taken away. And so to me, that's a very big deal. And it makes me very uneasy, especially with what I'm seeing out there today. And I'm not going to get into it and bash it. And that's not what this is about. This is more of an informative video. But yeah, I personally am not real happy with this. And I think that we all need to be aware of it. And honestly, as parents, if we can't unite and build a coalition around our children, I'm not sure that there is anything that would bring that about then. And so if it was ever a time for such things, that time is now, due to something like this. Now, before we get into the information, I will read it to you and you can stick around for that, or you can just look it up yourself. Before you would go, please hear me out here. Like I said, I have two young boys myself. One's 11, going to be 12 this year, and the other just turned 14 in December. And yeah, that is certainly not what I dreamt for their future. Nor do I think that it was in either of their plans, for their future and what they dreamt of. And for some people, it is. And that's great. And it's those people that we rely on. And I understand that. But I don't like when that option is taken away, because the reality here is we all only get one of these lives. And to not be in control of what you do with it, I think, is a disservice to your God-given rights and your humanity. And I'd like to say more, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut. What I would like to say is this: that if you have children around this age coming up, because like I said, this is going to affect them all. And, they extended the years so other people on the top end will be affected. Like they've made adjustments here just because of this war. And so it just creates an interesting I don't know. I don't even really know what to say other than we need to make sure our children are prepared. Because here's the deal. Regardless of any of this, what's now in front of them are two options. And those options are both to fight. Okay? And I think with that being now what we're faced with, that it's our job as parents to prepare them for that fight. Because unfortunately, I think that regardless, there will be a fight. Okay? And I want my kids prepared. I want my kids capable. I want my kids confident. And so what I am doing with my own children is working to build them up. To build them up as strong, intelligent, responsible, mature young men. Because it's these type of attributes that are behind the fight. And so it's very important that we can't just coast here, guys, as parents. We cannot. Like, things are changing. The world is changing. The dynamics are changing. This is our children we're talking about. I take that very seriously, as I am sure you do as well. And so what I'm offering here is the thought that we better be preparing mentally, physically, spiritually, everything, and preparing our children the same for the battle that could and will likely come. And so what does that look like? Well, first and foremost, it begins with building them up spiritually. Because if they don't have a spiritual foundation, what hope do you have then? So first it's that, because they need to have hope, and we have to build that hope up within them. And that is something spiritually. And then that leads into mentally. Mentally, we have to make sure they are strong and capable and knowledgeable and understanding of this world and what is actually going on in it. And so we can't just rely on the system to educate our children. We better be educating them on the truths of what's happening in this world and what we're seeing. And so that's our duty as parents, to raise up our children. And I think that this is a big part of it. We can no longer rely on the system to do it. We have to take a bigger piece of that responsibility if we want them to stand a chance growing up in this world, because it's starting to look very ugly, in my opinion. And the only way I'm going to be able to sleep good at night is knowing that my boys are equipped and capable. And so that's up to me as their parent to build that in them, not the school system, not the government, no one else but me. That's my job. That's my duty. And in light of this, I plan on taking it very seriously, and so should you. This is a big deal, folks. Very, very big deal. And lastly, we need to prepare them physically. You better start dishing out some discipline in terms of regimented exercise, regimented cardio, regimented weightlifting, regimented eating properly, like everything that's required to build a strong body, because there's a very good chance that they are going to need it. And again, you and I will be able to sleep better knowing that they are equipped. And this is all what's required to equip them for the future that's out there in front of them. Because this is the reality. I don't like it either, but it's it. And I will stand by their side and fight for them, as I'm sure many of you will as well. But the one thing is for sure, there will most likely be a fight. And so we need to be prepared. They need to be prepared. And that's what it looks like. And so I am already working with my boys on weightlifting plans and all that. They've already been doing it because they're involved in sports and it's just what we do. But I really encourage you to do the same. You don't have to have anything to do this. It can be done through calisthenics, which is just body weight exercises. You don't need to have a home gym. You don't need to have a membership to a gym. These things can be done on your floor or at a playground. It does not matter. But it better be done. I'm telling you. We better prepare them and assist them and help them in becoming the strongest version of themselves, physically, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And in my opinion, as a father, emotionally, the biggest aspect of that is by you being behind them in support. Emotionally, that's one of the biggest things that you can do for them, is support them in all of this. And that will help them emotionally become stronger and to have a confidence in themselves that you impress upon them as you build them into the warriors that they better be. Because, like it or not, there's a very good chance that warriors are what they're going to have to be. And you do not want to enter into that time, regardless of what happens and what that looks like, not capable. That's the last thing that you want as a parent. So that's the main thing I wanted to say. You, like I said, can look this up yourself or stick around and I'll read it to you, because that's what I'm going to do here. Starting in December 2026, the U.S. will transition to the ASS, which, is the automatic selective service registration for men aged 18 to 26 using existing government records such as DMV data. This aims to modernize registration, not start an active draft. A draft requires a new act of Congress and a presidential sign-off, which has not happened since 1973. But folks, do not be complacent here. I'm telling you, I've read into this. This can be done through executive order. This can be done through national emergency. We've seen how this works in other situations in the past. I would not slack on this. Key details on the new Draft Act, 25 through 26 context. Automation. The new system will automatically register young men, eliminating the need for individuals to register themselves. Source of change. This update is part of the negotiations within the annual National Defense Authorization Act, which is the NDAA I mentioned earlier, specifically driven by House proposals for automation. The draft status. No active military draft exists. This is solely a registration system maintenance update. Again, I would not let this type of language cause you to put your guard down. Not the slightest. If you are paying attention to what is going on, you should already know this. The scope. While often debated, current proposals do not change the gender requirements of the current law to include women, and failure to register can lead to ineligibility for federal student loans, grants, and federal employment. The important context. Automation or automatic registration does not mean a draft is starting, only that the government is updating the list. Misinformation on social media may incorrectly claim a draft is imminent in 2026. I am certainly not saying that. Hopefully you are hearing what it is that I am saying. And the Selective Service System maintains these records to provide personnel in an emergency. And again, we've seen what happens with executive orders in times of emergency, and with the swipe of a pen, we just happen to lose a bunch of rights and they gain a bunch of power. And when we're talking about our children, that is simply not something I, for one, am willing to gamble with. And so that is what I propose to you here today. I think this is something we should all be taking very seriously, and we need to be paying close attention to what's happening right now in this current war. And please look to alternative sources. Don't just listen to everything you hear on the TV to find out the information. Let's not forget that in times of war is also time for propaganda and lies. So anyway, I am Brad Casper. This is Casper's Corner. I would love to hear your thoughts. Please comment, let me know where you're at and what you plan to do. Like the video, help get this message out by sharing it. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. And I will continue to bring information like this to you. And we will also, be getting into some of these workout plans and things like that. So if that sounds interesting, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you in the next one. We're out.